Welcome back to Toma, taking on middle age. I'm your host, Jason Bowler. This is episode 25, and my extensive Google research tells me that making it to 25 podcast episodes is some sort of a big deal because apparently a lot of people quit. Actually, most people quit after like three. But anyway, I'm super happy about it. To me, it feels like a special kind of day. And we're going to talk about marching to the beat of your own drum, which is part of what this is. And that's going to gear us up to next week when we have our second guest on who definitely marches to the beat of their own drum. So let me ask you, does it bother anyone else that you can go to Baskin Robbins and they brag about having 31 flavors of ice cream, but then when you go to the polls to vote for like the direction of the country, you're left with two less than stellar choices that have a realistic chance in hell of winning, right? Or how about comparing that to like Colonel Sanders? Colonel Sanders, he had 11 herbs and spices that went into making delicious, perfectly fried chicken, right? He didn't just have salt and pepper. But I feel like a lot of times, depending on weird stuff like geography, race, political leanings, just where you are and what's supposed to happen, we tend to get put in boxes. Not people, society in general, I guess it's just neater and easier for people to understand and therefore control us if they just say, well, this person checks these, we can check these off the list. And just because we can check these small or certain things off the list, that means they belong in this box completely in this box. And, I resent that. I reject that. And I appreciate people that say to hell with that and they live outside of what people expect them to do. Why can't hobbies that don't necessarily sound like they should go together? Why can't a person have both? Why can't you be a big game hunter and also, like to write poetry? I mean, I know that you can. I know that there's nobody putting a gun in your head and saying you can't. The point is, it's sometimes, and that maybe that's not the best example because there's probably plenty of people that do that. But the point is, there's a lot of times where, depending on where you are and what group you're in, the expectations are kind of set for you. And when you step outside of those expectations and do something else or show interest in something else and march to the beat of your own drum and refuse to get put in a certain box, then sometimes there's some blowback. Okay. So how do we deal with the blowback? My theory on this is, especially for the powers that be, as far as why they don't let us or they don't encourage us to be in our own boxes is because two boxes are easier to control than 340 million boxes, right? So that's just my thought on that. So it's not that we lack the potential to change, but sometimes we think we need permission to change. Let's be honest. We want to change, but we don't want to look weird when we do it. We want to start something new, but we don't want anybody to judge us while we're doing it. I recently made a post on my private Facebook page kind of explaining why I decided to do a podcast because I've been asked several times. And I think people, just because it's so kind of odd for the group of people that I call friends and my family, I just felt like I needed to explain it. Some people get it right out of the gate, some people don't, but I just felt like I needed to let them know, not because I have to, I can do what I want to do, but just to kind of clarify that I have not, in fact, lost my mind. I just decided that I don't fit all the way in whatever box people think I should fit in. I really never have. I've never had that problem too much, except for maybe the last 10 years of my life or so where I let myself get in a rut. But there are people out there that I know that are interested in other things and want to do other things, and they just don't. It's not that they lack the courage to do it. They just don't want to put up with the hassle of being judged or looking weird or being considered strange when they do it or having to explain why they're doing it. So we want to become someone we can respect, but we don't want to disappoint anybody along the way. And so the longer we live on a leash, the more our lives become a performance. We become like Ben Stiller's character in Tropic Thunder when he was kidnapped and forced to play the role of Simple Jack over and over and over again because Simple Jack is who the villagers knew him by. And so Simple Jack was who he was going to be or else. So we end up playing the role of Simple Jack in our lives just because that's the expectation for others. And I feel this on a personal level as someone who's always been a class clown my whole life. And I am, and I enjoy it. And nobody told me I had to be one. But once you do that for so long and you try to be serious about something or you try to change directions a little bit, then people kind of are like, dude, I want clown bowler back. I don't want serious bowler back. What's he doing? But we're allowed to go in different directions anytime we want to, is the point I'm trying to make. So, what stops us sometimes? Well, it's the approval addiction. Approval addiction is sneaky, and I know I've steered clear of politics, but if it's the best example, it's the best example. So, how many times have we seen in our society the last few years where people aren't chasing compliments so much as they're trying to avoid criticism, right? It's not that we want to be patted on the back. We just don't want a kick in the ass, to put it that way. So we're not chasing applause. We're dodging disapproval. And that's the world that we live in. Just don't cancel me, and I'll say whatever you want me to say. Please let me sit at what I deem the cool table, and I dare not have an opinion or make a lifestyle change or do anything at all that might lead to my dismissal from the cool table. And that's what it's become. And even when we get to the courage to step out and do it anyway, we're still painted as the bad guys for not marching lockstep with the norm of whatever group that we fall into. So we stay the same. We stay safe. We stay predictable, not just along political lines. This is across all facets of life. Removing things we fear may keep us from danger, but it also shrinks us and keeps us from having a real life, something that we can be proud of, that we can look back on and go, yeah, I tried that. I did this. I did that. And it's not wishy-washy. It's not riding the fence. It's not, I've always heard a man should have a hobby. That is 100% true. And I spent a lot of my years not engaging in any specific hobby. And there's nothing wrong with being so passionate about one specific hobby that that's all that you do. If it continues to bring you joy, if you continue to learn new things every time you do it. I know guys that are hardcore turkey hunters, hardcore duck hunters, hardcore fishermen. And I feel like they're always happy doing it because they're always learning something new, because it's man versus nature and there's no playbook there. You don't necessarily know what's going to happen. You have to adjust on the fly. So that keeps it interesting for them. And for those people, then maybe that's the only hobby they need. But for some of us, we need more than one hobby to keep our interest. And so it's okay to switch around and try things and see what you love and what you don't love as you go through life. Life is about play. I'm reading a book right now. I'll mention it more in detail next week when I meet with my guests, but it's about bringing play into everything we do. And so part of play, even as adults, is trying new things, trying adventures, seeing where you fit in exactly, because we don't all fit in one group perfectly. So if you're thinking about making a drastic change in your life, whether it's centered on self-improvement or living a healthier lifestyle, or to pursuing a dream you've always had, to being outspoken about a belief that you feel strongly about that maybe other people in your own circle don't agree with, just do it. Normal, like the lobster dude in Star Wars says, is a trap. It absolutely is a trap. Being completely normal all the time is a trap. It's boring. Normal is mass agreement. And when everyone thinks the same thing, nobody's thinking. So what do I mean by normal? Well, it's really not about me trying to convince a bunch of middle-aged guys to grow mohawks and start a punk band or something, unless you want to. Side note about being normal. When I'm talking about normal, I'm talking about the normal of being disconnected from what really matters, being stressed, being numb, being medicated by entertainment, waiting for a weekend that fixes nothing, just working for the weekend, being overly agreeable towards obvious ignorance, the normal of staying exactly the same in every way when exactly the same is sucking the life out of us. It's not good for our health. It's stressing us out. It's not allowing us to grow. That's what I mean when I mean normal. I don't mean how you dress or what your hairstyle is. I know people use that superficially as a way to purposely stand out, and that's part of it, I guess. But really, it's about how you move in your daily life, how you refuse to sit down in the rut and get comfortable and say, yeah, I guess everybody's all crazy about whatever's going on in the news today. I may as well join them. I may as well jump on in there myself and be miserable too. I mean, go out and throw an axe at a tree. Screw all that. Like, do something different. All I mean really though is that you're awake. You busted out of your box. Some won't like it. Who cares? Are they in a position to grant you more time at the end of your life if things don't work out well for you? If you don't get all you want out of life, is there anyone on earth that can grant you more time in order to do it if you don't do it now? The answer to that is no. If you want to become a more disciplined man in every aspect of your life and you're willing to do the work, be ready for it, some in your circle to think that you've lost your mind. If you want to become a more disciplined man and improve every aspect of your life, Just be ready for some people in your circle to think that you've lost your freaking mind, because that's what they're going to think. Some. And just be ready for that. So let's talk about what happens if you decide that eating healthier is something you want to do. You'll hear, if you decide that eating healthier is something you want to do, you're likely to hear the "you only live once" speech from somebody, right? If you decide that exercising is right for you, someone's going to make a comment about like how they'd pull a muscle if they just tried to get out of the recliner, which is their way of saying, good for you. I could never even attempt to do that. So I don't relate to what you're trying to do, even though you're the same freaking age. And of course they could if they wanted to. If you decide to do away with addictions and bad habits, somebody's going to say you're no fun anymore. If you decide to build a skill set and skills you've chosen aren't typical according to others around you, you're going to hear about it. But if you're consistent in your efforts, if you keep showing up and letting the results speak for themselves, if you're solid about what you're doing and not wishy-washy, people will respect you, even if they don't understand what you're doing. They will understand that you aren't one to be put in the box. And next thing you know, people will be dancing to the beat of your drum. That's just how it works. But you have to step out there and overcome fears, overcome, people second guessing you, overcome criticism. You have to be able to do all of that. That's what a leader does. A leader is someone people want to follow because it's obvious they're going in the right direction, not because they were told to follow them. And that's what you become when you march to the beat of your own drum and you do it successfully. People want to be around people like that. So do what you need to do, take the criticism early, and then watch people join your team or ask to join your team. That's just how it works. Be your own ice cream flavor, right? Be your own blend of herbs and spices. That's what life's all about. So at the end of this month, I'm going to sit down with a man who consistently, absolutely marches to the beat of his own drum. He's not loud about it. He's not arrogant. It's not performative. He just built a life that fits him. And you're going to want to hear about that because it's proof that you can do the same thing too if you want to. We'll see you next week. We'll sit down with our February guests and looking forward to it. That'll be episode 26. Interview with Mr. Keith Wallace. See you next week.